What's up, everybody? One, two, three. This is MGC. We got a very different thing going on for you guys today. I'm going to share with you just stuff about relationships and dating and stuff like that. Because, it's mostly been like music and pro wrestling and me just dicking around on this YouTube channel and stuff like that. So I'm bringing a friend on today. And the funny thing is, when I first met him, I got to say, I had a little bit of like a friend crush on you during the beginning. Yeah, so that's why it's so interesting. It's like, that you're the out of all people, it's like you who did this. So yeah, introduce yourself and tell us what's up.
Yeah, I'm Elliot. Often go by the nickname Professor Elliot. And today you're interviewing me because I made a website for people to date me called dateelliot.com.
And it was mind blowing because I saw that video on it, the video and the website you made on it, and I have like varying opinions on like dating websites and what was it, like your OK Cupids, and then they eventually eventually into dating apps. It turns into Tinder and then Hinge and
The
Bumble,
the
and the list goes on.
gamification of dating.
Yeah, basically. And it actually goes into, because I actually have a list of subjects. It's going to kind of go into a tangent because they talk about like how Tinder, it's just like you're just looking at faces, and then it's shallow and whatnot, and then shallow versus, deep. And, in reality TV, they're kind of diving into that because, nowadays there's that show on Netflix called Love is Blind. It's where I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't.
It's actually where they get the guy and the girl. They're in two, like they never see each other the whole time. They just go into a room to talk to each other, and it's like a confessional with a priest, but except you get to know
Whoa.
each other the whole
Okay.
time, and you never see each other the entire time. And the guys and the girls could like talk to each other all they want. I mean, amongst themselves within their respective genders, and years before this was like 18 years ago, they played with the same exact concept, but except it was called Mr. Personality, and it was a show on Netflix, not Netflix, Fox, way back. And then it was on Fox television, Fox TV network, and it's where all the men wear masks. And I guess, I don't know, it was like one girl has to choose between all these guys who are all wearing masks.
Fascinating.
It's like a luchador mask they were
It's
wearing.
that's like the opposite and a much more tolerable show than that British show Naked Attraction.
Is it the same concept?
Oh no, it's the opposite concept. So naked attraction is you don't get to know them really at all. You just watch them slowly get revealed behind a curtain as they are naked behind the curtain.
Oh, okay. So
It's
it's like,
literally the opposite of the show you're
so
describing.
you're going
And it's the most,
exactly for their body. It's like, do I like their body, or
do
do
I
I like
like their body? Okay, I'm going to date them. It's like the exact
Wow.
opposite and the most awkward thing I have ever witnessed in my life.
It's almost like I wouldn't say like, because like pornography, like you could say that's like the most like flesh and animal type,
It's all chemicals and
yeah,
pheromones.
yeah,
There's no mental aspect to it all. There's no emotional aspect.
just
It's
straight
just
straight body to the max. But like, yeah, but so, well, because this was a tangent that I actually planned, but back to Tinder. Like, what was your experience with like Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, OK
I
Cupid,
mean,
Plenty of
they
Fish?
didn't really go anywhere. Like
Mhm.
I had more than one occasion of someone ghosting me, where like we set up a date and I'd show up and like wait for an hour and go, all right, guess I'm just gonna go on a walk now. Like, all right, I'm out of the house, might as well go wandering. So it never went anywhere in terms of those apps for me. And so I was already kind of looking for other options at that point.
I have a very like different approach, I guess, like than most people. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm a special snowflake, blah blah blah, but just throughout my like dating history, I've gotten it. I think ever since I was like 13 or 14 that I'm too picky, and of course like respectively so, because it's you got to be, especially for something as deep as like dating and eventually marriage or whatnot. The small differences become magnified as you get to know somebody over the years. And I'm really as picky as they come. And like my first girlfriend, how I met her was just like, she was, And I kind of have this thing about like if I did it myself, I used it on my own power because like if there was ever like a potion that like a genie or like whatever, like a love potion that somebody could offer you or a wish from a genie, you know, it wouldn't be to make the perfect girlfriend, and it wouldn't be to give, you know, it wouldn't to have a special love. I want to use my own like skills that I developed myself and my own, you know, my own conversational skills, my own abilities to win the girl, you know, and or just to even be introduced somebody by my mom or whatever, I would be completely against. So like I always am proud to say that my first girlfriend was somebody I met at an anime convention, and you know, I wouldn't say it's like pickup game, but it's like I went through like a very like I guess regular like kind of flirting and pickup process.
Sure.
So it's
The,
like
the standard, like you interact a little bit, you get to know each other, step.
yes, exactly. It was like I don't like I'm careful about when I give out the compliments. So it's like when I first met her, it was like, oh yeah, like we're talking about a common interest. I'm like, oh yeah, let me get your Facebook, you know, and then you know we started messaging from there, and then I asked her to get lunch with me, and then we went from there, and then it just developed, and then like third date, because I'm like, this isn't for everybody, because sometimes it's not
Sure.
always the third date or fourth or fifth, but it was like third date, it was like, all right, now's the time, you know, and then and I went from there. So that's just and then you know my current girlfriend, I met her through the Facebook dating app attachment because Facebook actually added that in. So I mean nowadays a lot of people are meeting their partners from like dating apps and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
But I guess like there is just like the general social media messaging in groups and through common mutual friends and going to parties and blah blah blah, so on and so forth.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like this year, there's no parties,
Nope.
there's no meeting people at conventions,
Not at
there's
all.
none of that's happening. And you know, that's a big thing that I've realized was missing from my life only after starting this project was how many strangers I would meet on a weekly, daily basis before the pandemic hit.
That's a big deal.
I didn't realize that was missing from my life until I started the dating thing and went, wow, meeting all these new people, this is what I've been missing. Yeah, this is it. Like, even if I don't end up getting any sort of real relationship out of this project, I've made several new friends that I'm going to be talking to for years. Just because they reached out and went, you seem cool. You want to chat sometime? Not date, just chat. And
Yeah.
it's been awesome.
It's like the first like opener to begin with. The funny thing is when I first came across your project on your Facebook page, when you posted about the website, that was actually the approach I took towards getting bandmates, you know, and it will actually lead into something funny because you're talking about like using it for a dating app and then you get friends as a result of it. I was looking for bandmates and I actually had, you know, it wasn't a girlfriend, but it was like, you know, one of those like friends that you weren't like, it's like, do I have a crush on this person? Do they have a crush
Sure.
on me? It was that kind of situation.
It's in that middle zone of like, maybe something will turn that direction or maybe not. I'm not sure where things stand yet.
Exactly. And that was one of the people that answered my ad. She was auditioning to be a guitarist for my band. And, you know, she was actually still a beginner and she wasn't really, you know, her friend was really gassing her up and said, and I was like, oh, you're not really ready, but I could probably give you lessons. And then over the years, it just started like kind of like developing, you know, but you know, nothing came of it though. We're still friends till this day, but
Yeah,
know, that's kind of like, what was it, like the fruits, like unexpected blessings in disguise or things
sure.
like that, you know. And but like was it mainly like Tinder that didn't go well with? Because
I used Tinder, I used Hinge, I used I think eHarmony and
I know Bumble was kind of like, I never got on Bumble. I was on
Bumble.
Hinge and Tinder.
Bumble I used years and years ago, but I haven't used that since. Yeah, so I used a few different apps and they all kind of meh.
Christian Mingle.
Not quite there.
It's like I'm pretty sure you could be agnostic and be on there possibly, or you're just like, I'm a sect that you haven't heard of.
Agnostic mingle.
Agnostic mingle.
Is that a thing?
I think it could be possible. I'm pretty sure. Like the atheists probably
Agnostic
like
angles.
agnostic angles. There you go. There you go. So I gotta ask. So before when you moved to Portland, when was your last relationship?
That was 2 years before I moved to Portland.
Really?
Well, a little bit under. By the time I started dating again, it had been 2 years since I'd been in a relationship. I kind of, I things ended in a weird and messy way, and I went to therapy, which I recommend to anybody and everybody, and learned a lot about myself and grew a lot. I kind of decided in those moments, like, I'm going to spend a couple of years just being me and reconnect with myself before I get back in the dating pool. And then I got to Portland and decided, okay, it's time to start dating, and everything shut down.
Mm. And especially nowadays, it's very tricky. So it's like I really if the shoes were if the shoe well. I wouldn't say shoe. Is that like if you and me switch places? Would that be considering the shoe being on the other foot? Or is it,
Sure, yeah. If
yeah.
I were in your shoes.
Yeah, I would actually go about doing the same thing. You know, I was thinking of doing all kinds of things. You know, I actually have a music venue. I'm not sure if I've ever invited you there, Bridgetown DIY,
Oh,
and over in La Puente. And basically, they give you the keys to that place, and you don't have to pay any money to run events there most of the time.
huh.
And what I was considering doing at that place, I think you could do any event where all ages are allowed. So you can't have any like cigarettes, alcohol, or marijuana
Right.
based events, but you could have concerts. You could shoot a music video there. And one of the things I was considering was doing a speed dating night.
Nice. Okay.
And and there's like no reason not to. I mean, and I kind of have this thing like I think after I turned 25, I was like thinking I don't want to be drunk before when I meet like when I'm going out to meet people, and I want to be at the top of my game. I want to have like my silver tongue ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be sloppy and say dumb things. That's why I'd rather just
Part of it is like that's life, right? Sometimes you say dumb things, and if the
mm,
person on the other end goes, "That was a little dumb, but I still think you're cool," then you
yeah,
know things are going well.
and you got and it could go the other way when they say something dumb back to you. So so on and so forth. You know, but it's like what inspired you to go towards the website angle, like other than us being in the pandemic, what kind of pointed you towards like, okay, the website it would be the way to go rather than like going in the middle of the park with a megaphone or
It's there's a confluence of a few things, right? So one is not liking the dating apps just
Mhm.
in general. They weren't working, and they take tons of data from you that like uncomfortable amounts of data of like, oh, we know that he's awake at this hour and he's typically looking at his phone, so we should send this kind of a notification so that way he responds. Like, it's really weird and invasive. um so there's that. The other thing was I saw a photo. I can't remember the guy who did this. I saw a photo of a billboard, and it was like hirematt.com. And I was like, ooh, billboard. Um, so like putting my face on a billboard and just saying like date Elliot and just have my face there, like nice and straightforward. Um, and then finally, uh, the other aspect was having difficulty finding a way to talk about myself in the bios for these apps. How am I supposed to write exactly the right statement that fits in this tiny little section for people to swipe up and go, yeah, that seems like a person that I'd be interested in talking to more. And it's such a quick, compact moment. So the confluence of all of these things happening was, okay, I want a website where I can get my friends to talk about me. And in having the website, anyone who visits is already interested in me. And my original plan was to get a billboard that points to the website. I did some price research for the billboards, and billboards in my area, apparently you have to buy in bulk. So I wouldn't be able to just buy one billboard for a month. I'd have to buy like a dozen billboards for a few months. And so that became very cost prohibitive. So I switched to flyers and put flyers up all around Portland.
And that's really the approach I took to like finding bandmates. Like
Right. You were saying that, like
yeah,
just posting it out there.
if you were looking for like anybody in particular, like a certain type, like I'm wondering if like Fiverr is ever gonna just go into that realm of just adding in like, you know, because
Collaborative space.
yeah, because I think at this point, because there's already like websites where you actually pay for a friend. You know, they've started doing. I mean, over in Japan, they've got, you know, the rent a boyfriend, rent a girlfriend type thing. You know, cuddle time rented
Yeah.
out, and then I've found stuff like that where it's like friends for an hour and stuff like I'm pretty sure Fiverr eventually might jump into that field sooner or later because of the fact that you're looking for some type of what do you call it? Some type of freelancer with a certain ability, you know.
Right. Right.
I think that's where I know a good chunk of my cash would probably disappear into Fiverr if I won the lotto.
No, I feel that. I feel that.
I gotta say, like one of the most, you know, one of the most crazy things about this is the fact that, you know, I've known you for a bit, but it's always been one of those things where like you and me never really hung out regularly. It's always been kind of, you know, it's when I first met you, you know, and the fact that you're doing this, like when I first met you, I actually had a bit of a friend crush on you. Was that kind of thing. I think just because, like, for those who know me and for those who don't know me, I'm a huge fan of the Japanese visual kei scene, and that's kind of like, you know, my holy war, my religion more or less. And you knowing about you knowing about that already just right
I
away.
think that was one of our first conversations.
Hmm.
Was literally, you're like, "What kind of music?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm into a little bit of everything,"
And I'm
and
like,
like,
are you
Ray,
you
you're like,
really are you serious about
"Are
that?
you
And then
serious? What about Visual K?" I'm like, "Oh, well, Night Hamura is really good, and I really appreciate, you know, like Maximum the Hormone. I've been getting into them lately." And your eyes, you're like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
and I almost feel guilty for not like hunted like husbanding you up, you know, right after that right away. But that was kind of like my moment, and the fact that you're doing this now is like, you know, I think the other thing, I'm gonna put this in like more, you know, family friendly terms. I don't know, can I share the? I'm not gonna talk
You can
about.
share whatever. I'm an
So
open book.
there was a party that you had at your house when you lived in Los Angeles,
Man,
and we
I had
actually
some wild, crazy parties at that place.
and we played a game of strip poker, and I'll just say Elliot has a very nice body, and for you know, the we were talking about like I think on your website you have different all your friends giving their testimonials about you.
Right, little references section.
Yeah, just to know that, you know, it's not just safe, but you know you're a great person, and then yeah, that background. And I was so tempted to just go on there as like, you know, Elliot's really well endowed. He has a great body. He's a really sexy guy. And you know, a lot of, you know, and a lot of people that's you know, when for relationships that are commodified, like most people want to say that, you know, looks don't matter, but to an extent that's kind of like what you first see in a store to get your attention when you want to invest
Right.
in something.
It's the window shopping.
It's the window shopping. So I was so, and it felt like such like a bro thing to do if I just laid that comment out. It's like Elliot is, you know, he's packing it, and that's like one of the first things I wanted to do. Like the second I saw that website, I was gonna. You could
Right.
even take this clip if you want and put this in.
Put that in the website.
Yeah, you could add this in.
Elliot's packing it.
Yeah, Elliot's packing it, and I'm not even like, you know, you didn't tell me to say this. You
and,
didn't
and
like.
you know, it's funny. I'm doing much better with my physical health lately than I was back
Mm,
then. Like I've been working out seriously for the first time in my life for the last couple of years. And I'm doing like serious training now for a big adventure later this year.
that's hot.
Um,
That
we'll see if I make it out there or not. Like it all depends on vaccines and borders opening at this point.
that's temperature hot then.
Right.
Make it out there, you know, going. I think one of the other things was, I guess, like one of my run-ins with you when it was like unplanned run-ins with you. I remember when I ran into you at the YouTube convention. This was in
Was that VidCon?
VidCon, yes.
VidCon, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually there because I was meeting up with somebody I knew from background acting, and like me and like he was just gonna give me some insights, and you know, I wanted to promote like, you know, all my music stuff and everything there. And just as one panel was getting out, I run into you. So that, like, when I once again when I found out about this website, it's like, wow, Elliot, this is really set up perfectly for Elliot, because you're kind of savvy when it comes to algorithms. And I think one of the things I keep in mind when like releasing YouTube videos is kind of what you told me about this one Twitch person who put out their videos, and it was like he has had friends in different countries upload it. So
Right, like the international aspect of like getting different communities to see your content.
yeah, because it only shows it in your YouTube feed for people in your area, or something in the
It'll
algorithm.
lean heavily towards a certain area that you are currently in, or
Yeah,
at least it used to. I don't know if that's still the
yeah,
case.
because they're always changing the algorithm all the time, like so many years in advance. Like Instagram, like I was getting so much back, and nowadays it's like not as heavy. Now everybody's like jumping on the TikTok. Everybody's jumping on. I during this pandemic, I've actually gone into studying about like the other websites in China and Japan, just to see like what it's like with them and how they work. And
What's out there, what's the popular app in each like country, and yeah, because it's like it's obviously not standardized across the world,
yeah,
like each country is going to have its own like preferential apps.
people think it's like YouTube, Twitch, and it's gonna be YouTube, Twitch, and like Facebook and whatever. But over in China, it's Doya, who is the owner of TikTok. It's Kuaishou, which is I think Kuaishou is the Twitch equivalent over in China. Doya also makes their own, and man, I keep forgetting the name. The names are pretty tricky. Huashua. I might just be making stuff up. And then there's
The tonal languages, man, like they'll get you
yeah.
every time.
That's the other great thing about, like, I think like yours and my interest in, I think this is a word that we don't use enough, like, nowadays, like, to describe people, because we're worried about sounding pretentious. Like, I'd say, like, I like sophistication, and I like, and that's another thing that kind of attracted, like, me to you, just as friends, that I love talking about, like, just like the finer things that aren't talked about in everyday, like, life. I remember, like, there was a time we were opening different Shakespeare quotes, and I think at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like really deep into like getting down to be or not to be. Like, I even sent people, like, because during the beginning of the pandemic, like, we're looking for all kinds of things to keep us busy, and I sent so many different people to be or not to be. Like, I guess at least like half of it, not the entire thing, but up into like to die, to sleep, to breathe no more, or I think it was, or a bare Bachnem, or there's the rub, like up to that part of to
Yeah,
be or not to be. You know
those first like stanzas there.
that was like the message. I was talking that into people's Facebook chats, like, just to see how they react. And like, wait a minute, yeah, that's a good movie. I haven't seen that in a while. You get to see Kenneth Branagh almost naked. Like, one person responded. Another person's like, "Oh yeah, Shakespeare. What's up, Matt? Tough enough, a Shakespeare up in here."
Shakespeare, rock out.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so yeah,
I think we've all been struggling with finding a way to occupy our time during the pandemic, or finding what our purpose is, right? Like, one thing that I've been having to tell myself repeatedly, is there are many moments. I'm going to open a tab and find the title of an Onion News article. Here we go. So I keep having to remind myself of this Onion News article title, which is "Man Not Sure Why He Thought Most Psychologically Taxing Situation of His Life Would Be the Thing to Make Him Productive."
really.
And that's the thing, right? Like, every week or two, I sit down and I go, God, I've I've got so many projects on my plate and I've done nothing.
Mm.
Nothing. And yet I've got extra time on my hands. I should be getting things done. And I go, wait, hold up, dude. This year has been shit.
You
Like,
know,
dial it back. It's okay to not get anything done.
it's
This
very
is
true.
this year is a gimme, you know?
Ali, one thing I'll say to that is, actually, I'm in that exact situation, because I have a lot of things I want to do. And I before I go on off into a tangent, just real quickly, your sign. I don't know if we ever talked about our signs, though, because, like, some people believe in it, some don't. But I'm always noticing all the coincidences. So you're a
I'm a Gemini.
See, I'm an Aquarius. See, this is why this makes perfect sense.
Okay, I don't know why.
Oh, okay. The Aquarius is always best with Libra and Gemini.
Okay, okay.
And then just this year, like Cancers have been like, my girlfriend's a Cancer, and then the host of my pro wrestling podcast is a Cancer, and they're both Mexican American, and like, I'm learning Spanish through them, through both of them, and they don't know each other, and it's just like, and I've been learning a lot about lucha libre from them, and it's just been like,
Nice.
so it's been like a whole like they've been kind of like a little bit of my renaissance too, and then between us Libras and Libras and Aquariuses, there's always like a lot of like things in common we're doing. Is like we'll talk like I'll just share with you a few of like my projects in mine. I bought a drawing tablet for the first like I've been drawing since I was 4, but I've never like through our mutual friends, we'll bring them up. Sam, like Sam Goslin, Dylan Goslin, both the brothers are big like drawing guys.
Oh yeah, I love those guys. Yeah.
They're big drawing guys, but it always, I wouldn't say it overshadowed me, but like I don't know if you knew I've been drawing, but I've never taken the art classes. I've just been drawing since I was 4 because a ballpoint pen and a piece of printer paper is like a
Yeah.
paradise.
Yeah.
It's as good as Nintendo for me, and just on a whim, finally it's like I need to get a drawing tablet, and I finally got one. I'm getting tap dancing shoes for my birthday, just because I think of that like as like that's like playing drums, and that's like the perfect dance style for heavy metal in my opinion. Is
Ooh,
tap dancing.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I had never thought of tap dancing mixed with heavy metal.
Yeah, because it's like, because I think in my opinion, you think of like, okay, twerking, breakdancing, like all the different dance styles, that have been over the years. Tap dancing is probably like the loudest, most percussive, and those stomping styles of dancing included with that. I think mine might even just turn into just straight stomping onto the loudest wood I could find once I
There's
get
something
it.
to be said for um niche markets or gimmick markets for bands, right? Like
Yeah.
you think of like Lady Baby with Lady Beard.
Mm-hmm.
You think of uh yeah, it's you get yourself a gimmick and then you can get it, or the Ned Flanders metal band, right, where they're
Oh
all
yeah.
dressed like Ned Flanders,
Exactly.
like
Buckethead. The list goes on.
right. But then when you are talking about like combining two art forms, like that takes it to another level. It's no longer just a gimmick, like, oh, it's a guy with a beard and a dress, or oh, it's a bunch of guys dressed like Ned Flanders singing about The Simpsons. It's like, no. I'm taking two art forms. I'm showing you they can work together. I love that. I love that.
I think I think the other thing is like I've been turning guitars into drum kits. That's like the other thing. Like I've been taping like cans and stuff like that. So I don't want to keep going on. I've got a bunch of other things. You could tell me a couple of things you're messing with at the moment.
Oh man, messing with is an interesting term. Like,
Yeah.
like things come and go, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
thing that just showed up today is I got a package delivered with a bunch of SD cards, and I'm going to be upgrading my iPod so that way it carries a terabyte of music. Um, which I'm looking
I wish
forward to
I
that.
still had an iPod. I
I
need one because
I had to get
It
one.
takes up too much room on your phone.
Right. And if you're streaming, but then you're on a road trip, then suddenly, oh, can't stream anymore because I'm going through this national park that has no connection.
And
Or,
then, or maybe you got to get a tablet and then have your phone, and then you got to worry about taking care of your tablet.
yeah, no, iPod's simple. I'm also working on four treasure hunts right now. I'm building 4 different treasure hunts for some friends. Something that I've started doing in the last couple of years is as just a gift. Occasionally, I'll bury some treasure somewhere, and I'll create a series of clues leading to that treasure for a friend. Um, I did one, but a friend of mine helped me create that, and so as a thank you, I'm building him one. But in building him one, I had 2 other friends help me. And so I'm starting to like, oh, well, now I obviously owe them a treasure hunt too, because they helped me for the next one. So now I'm working on 4 different treasure hunts. Um, and
That could
some
be
are
just one
easier.
category on its own, and then it's just like one after the other. Just order them in a certain
Order.
way.
Right. It's been a lot of fun. I've been doing some tests on some tech to use for some of these things. One of my friends is going to have to travel about 1,500 miles before he gets all the clues. Um, I'm really going all out on these things, and I'm having fun with it. So that's a big one. And then the biggest thing is the training that I'm working towards. So my plan, if borders open up, if I get a vaccine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Mm,
my plan is to cross the entire nation of Scotland in a straight line.
that's
So I'm
pretty
going to go
solid.
from one side of the island to the other. If there's a mountain, I'm going to climb it. If there's a loch, I'm going to swim it. Um, I'm not as worried about those as I am the bog, because I've looked at my route, and there is a good chunk of bog water, and I'm not sure how I'm going to accomplish traveling across that in a straight line. So that might be the most difficult part of the journey.
Elliot, did I ever tell you I'm a big like geography and history guy? So
Yes.
it's like okay, so I'm thinking of are you gonna start from Glasgow or are you going from Edinburgh
Oh no,
or
I chose a
you're going to
specific route.
Lowlands?
I'm
Lowlands?
no Highlands. We're doing the Highlands,
Oh, so you're
but
going from Highlands to, you know,
we're going sort of southwest to northeast. Um,
Is the wall of Hadrian the
I,
endpoint at the
I
south?
I'm not going to be too specific because I don't want to get to spoiler territory.
Oh,
But
okay.
because this whole thing's going to be videoed.
Well, I
Um,
mean, people know the
and
map. People know the
right,
map of Scotland.
right. But I don't want to reveal my specific path yet. But I can say I specifically chose a path that crosses over a few distilleries, like a straight line that I'll be able to stop in the distilleries along the way.
To try the Scotch.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take a tour.
Campbelltown is in there. Is Campbelltown in there?
Not saying a word. Not saying a
Oh,
word.
okay.
You're gonna have to wait.
Yeah, and of course, I think we've talked about like you and me before. We've talked about like I'm a Scotch enthusiast, so I've got like Campbelltown Lowlands, Highlands, Islay. That's the really medicinal whiskey, you know.
Uh-huh. I'm a fan of some Islas.
I haven't tried it yet. Like they always depict people hating it, but I'm like, you know, it's like I'm wondering if those rare moods that you're into like wasabi or horseradish,
For me,
or
like Isla is like it's memories of camping like with my dad, like it's the smell of campfire,
is it
like
very herby?
no, Islas tend to be heavy in the peat smoke range of
Yeah, the
things.
smoke.
So it's smoky, it's campfire, it's dark flavors.
Yeah, I'm always
It's
barbecuing outside. Like I blow on the charcoal to get the fire going, like directly. Like I don't have that. What do you call that thing?
a bellows.
Yeah, I don't have a bellows. And my mom just gives me like I asked my mom for like the a bellows, but she just gives me a fan, you know, one of those old like so I just blow directly into it. And I even do the what was it, the Tay Sunday. I move away from the
To
I
breathe
move
in.
to breathe in, but I move away from the fire to breathe in, so I'm not breathing in ash and I
Right. That's a smart choice.
to get that fire going. And you know, I bring up the Wall of Hadrian because like I was writing like some alternate history, like you know, like sci-fi war fiction where like basically Scotland becomes a republic, and then the Wall of Hadrian becomes like you know becomes like East and West Berlin. It's like
Okay,
very
okay.
the Wall of Hadrian's like a fortress wall with like machine guns and tanks and you know what was it like the turret cannons and like it's like
Yeah.
super high.
Like all decked out in all sorts of fortifications.
Yeah, barbed wires, titanium, like because I when was it Hadrian built it? You know that was like that was to keep like the Scottish tribes out of Britannia. You
Right.
know, so it's like it. I wouldn't say spoiler, but you know I'm not gonna ask you if you're going there, but I'm just gonna say you know the Wall of Hadrian. That was it for the
If
Roman
if
Empire.
nothing else, if I'm not going there on my direct journey, my plan is to have some extra wiggle room time, so I'll be able to visit it after the journey is over.
But I'm thinking, isn't it like the entire border? It's like the Rio Grande. Like you're going through there from you know whether it's like going through the 38th parallel to get to North Korea. Like
Right.
if you're going to North Korea on land, you're passing through the
You're
38th
passing
parallel.
through that. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll find out.
It's like you're no like Elliot's going underground.
I'm going under Hadrian's Wall.
he's going under. That's how the Picts got in and fought the last legion, you know, which eventually became King Arthur. You know.
Right. Oh
all that
man.
stuff.
Speaking of King Arthur, something I've been doing recently is I've been watching time travel movies.
Ooh,
And
there we go.
I'm watching time travel movies in order of the first date of time travel shown on screen. So not based on like the
So
date the movie came out. So like let's say
non-talkies, you're watching Silence too?
no. I'm watching them. They're not in order of release date. So let's say
Okay.
Back to the Future, the first time you see someone time travel is the dog, right? The dog time travels.
Okay.
So that's the same year, like 1985, right? So that's the movie year that came out and the year that he time traveled. But you go to something like a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. The first time you see them time travel is the year 538. And so that movie comes first. That movie comes before Back to the Future, even if it
Yeah.
was made after Back to the Future.
So do you have to kind of go from, do you have to go in order of like the time
The
period that they
time
traveled
period
to?
that they time traveled to,
So
exactly.
it's so is it's gonna be all like the dinosaur ones first and then
Right. So I went through a bunch of those. I just finished all of the King Arthur's Court movies. I had to watch all of them in a row.
So you're gonna be in Renaissanceville pretty soon.
Yeah.
Matchlock. It'll be Matchlock City, bro. Matchlock rifles.
I'm moving that direction for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna be in Matchlock Town. Let me know if you see a Killage. And Killage swords. Like those are just as good as katanas, from what I hear, or from what
Really?
I've seen. Yeah, because they're sabers that are like weighted, so they could go through. Maybe they
Okay.
could go through bone if you're strong
I
enough.
I don't know if Hollywood or any other industry would be specific enough
Yeah,
to
to use
include
Killage.
a right, right. So
That was Dracula's weapon of choice.
oh really?
Yeah, it was a Killage. And he also used like a crossbow, and he had a matchlock rifle with a spike on it. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm in like weapons history is my whole thing. I'm like the second you mention a time period, I'm like matchlock time. Like the second you say we're watching a Renaissance movie, and I'm like it's time for some matchlocks, baby. And then 1700s, Flintlock City, bro.
Awesome. Oh my god.
1800s, it's time for some percussion caps and Monet balls and amputation.
Oh my god. I'm not there yet. I just watched The Undead, which when does that one take place? The Undead from 1956.
But
It was okay.
They travel to
Year 900.
okay, we're what was it? We're post Charlemagne.
Yeah, post Charlemagne, I think.
We're pre William the Conqueror.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
right before. It's like so
yeah.
many. I forgot the thing I was seeing on the History Channel. Like everybody thought the world was gonna end in 1000. So and by the way, I'm
there's
totally
always
off
a
this
group.
tangent. Just like letting you know there's more to life than just the relationships, because this is the meat and
Oh yeah,
potatoes. This is the meat and potatoes of the conversation when you go out on those dates.
right.
If you could hang with that, you know, if you could hang with that, like I guess like
Hang with discussions of time travel and
yeah,
weapons through history and geography.
yeah, if you're down with it, because some people either just like tune it out and want to change the conversation, or they just like I've got a little bit of everything inside of those things that I'm interested in. Always big time. Even like, especially for time travel, like that grandfather paradox. Like I get
hmm
butterfly effect. I think that's on your list eventual.
Oh, it's got to be. The
Yeah.
list, I've got a total of 295 movies on my list right now.
And they always ask you the questions like, what would you do if you went back in time? And I think because of the butterfly effect, I don't want to mess with like major world events, politics, or like saving human lives, because that kind of might affect things too much and might like blow the world
So
up or
so
something.
there's some questions, right? Like one, do you know the rules of time travel in
Yeah.
your universe? Because if you don't, then maybe you should err on the side of caution.
Hmm.
But then on the other side of that, you've already traveled back. And if the butterfly effect is to be believed, your first exhale of breath has
Let's go.
changed the chemical consistency of the universe from that point
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. You
So
could
it's
have just
like
blown everything up.
it's already too late. All right, well, screw it. I'm gonna become king of the world by the time 10 years goes
There
by.
you go. My game plan, because this has been a meme on Facebook. My game plan is just to find myself pass him at like 2007. My specific game plan is find myself in 2007, give myself a list of people not to talk to, and a list of people not to talk to or not to make friends with, and the winning lotto numbers for July 2007 and
Do you do you
July
have that
2000.
memorized?
The winning, I'm gonna write a few down. I'm actually gonna
Okay.
pass my, because the thing is, they say, what if you can't, if you can only say 3 words to your past self, is because I'm gonna write all of this down on a piece of paper and then pass it to my past self, and my way of doing, and the only 3 words I'm gonna say, read this, don't throw away, or like read this, don't be scared, and it's gonna have winning lotto numbers for 2007 and winning lotto numbers for 2010, and I have to space them out so it won't be too suspicious. I think I'm gonna give the winning lotto numbers for 2010 to like my cousin, so so it won't be. It's like my cousin
Bu-
in another state.
Buy Bitcoin, sell it
Yeah,
8 grand.
exactly. Like me rich won't mess with the universe too much. There's even that theory, you saw that thing about like coronavirus and the killer bees. Like I feel like somebody's going back in time, messing with everything. That's
Gotta
why.
fix it. Gotta fix it. Oh, it's getting worse.
That's why I was like, why did the murder hornet suddenly disappear or something like that? That whole thing, basically that whole thing. So, but like my approach would just make myself rich, and because changing too many things might, if I get too deep into things,
you,
then it's a different story.
you might dig the book How to Invent Everything.
There you go.
It's the guidebook for the stranded time traveler. I just finished reading this book. It's awesome. The whole concept is it's a manual on how to fix your broken time machine, but the first chapter says, sorry, you can't fix your time machine. It's too complicated. So instead, here's some instructions on how to take over the world.
So it's like you're making the water filters. You're kind of starting from there with the water.
Right. It's very basic of like, here's how you smelt iron. Here's how you like, and it goes from the very basics all the way to like, here's telephone concepts. Here's radio.
We're
Here's,
actually, Ellie, we're actually tangenting back onto reality shows because there's a reality show about like what was it like the apocalypse survival one, and they actually one of the things they were doing was making electricity out of pig fat. So
man.
like kind of I think it's like at that level, right, where you have to burn the fat
Yeah.
of animals to create
Well,
energy.
and the whole idea, like the book, each chapter, each section, it gives you a little point of here's what you would already need to have invented to start on this one. And so if you haven't invented these things, go back to those chapters and work on that first. And so it's like, okay, if you're working on phones, here's what you need. You need to figure out how to harness electricity. You need to figure out how to make this kind of metal. You need to figure out how to do this, that, and the other. And you go, okay, well, I'll start with those chapters and then I'll get to the telephones.
I think a time travel book I was reading, the one character was trying to describe what a computer was to somebody from the Civil War era.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking, I think the easiest way is to say it's like an abacus combined with a traveling vaudeville show inside of a box. I think he couldn't. I think that would have been the easiest way to explain it.
It's like a 1,000 abacuses compressed to the size of your palm.
Yeah. Or just like the computers from the 80s, if you need to make that, it's like, they were talking like we don't even have the machines to make that machine. Is how he
Right.
explained it. But it's like the abacus. It's like the abacus, and then you have the vaudeville show, kind of like because you can't explain what a movie is yet because that's not out.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, and then theaters are I guess theaters were traveling like shows in the wagon
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if imagine your vaudeville show in one location, but you could watch it whenever you wanted. So
yeah.
so basically going with that. I guess like a little bit like back onto the websites thing. So I guess one of the things that's been keeping me busy is we're talking about like competing websites and things like that. I've actually been streaming with this Taiwanese based website. It's actually really big in Japan too, Live It 17 Live.
Okay.
And there's actually a lot of incentive on there for people to interact with each other more regularly rather than just like, even if you're on there for at least like an hour and a half, you're always going to get random people coming in.
Huh.
No matter what you do. So I'm already at 1,000 followers, and it's not like follow me, follow you. It's always like
Just
someone.
random people stopping and going, "Oh, I dig your stuff. I'm gonna
Yeah,
stick around."
always, and then you can just leave it on. I think they have some interesting rules where it's like you can't show too much skin. You can't.
Fair enough.
I don't know
It's
if it's like Disney Channel, but it's
some of the
like
standard rules that you get.
yeah, they kind of kept like cussing to a minimum, and just like they're cutting like down on certain things. You could play whatever music you want though. So unlike
Oh, they're gonna get in trouble for that soon enough.
yeah, oh no, I think their way around it is that it's not recorded.
Oh,
So
interesting.
it's not recorded, so you can only be it's only live.
It's
So
only live. Oh, okay. No, that makes sense then. That makes sense.
so
There's something that I've been trying to figure out, and I don't know if the tech is there enough that it's cheap enough for me to do.
mhm,
Maybe I can save up for this. But one of the things that I've been wanting to do is live streaming adventures.
there you go.
Um, the problem, of course, being a wireless connection in like the wilderness, right? And
Mhm.
so part of it for me has been looking at like satellite internet connections.
I've
Most
been wanting to look into that too.
right, like going out and like, okay, we're gonna go and hike to this abandoned missile base in the middle of the mountains. Let's do this, and live streaming the whole journey.
If I was a government employee from like a what was it a pragmatic approach. If I was like a government employee or a soldier, I'd be like, somebody's visiting an abandoned missile base. Let's turn it into a museum for all the kids. You know, I think like even when the whole Area 51 thing was going on, I think like the best way for the military to approach it is to like just treat everybody there like kids visiting a museum. You know,
Right.
put little like foam hats on them, and then just like and then open and have the soldiers like open up little hot dog booths and
Make some extra tax money for the government.
exactly. Like you guys traveled all this way. The soldiers have a little bit of extra money to take home, and then I'm like, over there is where we design the stealth bomber, and then over here, oh look at here, we've got aliens, and it's like some like puppet whatever, like
It's a
crappy.
guy in a mascot costume.
Yeah, see, and then take a picture with the aliens, guys.
Five
Like,
dollars a pop.
like
No,
they're
50.
exactly like if I was the military of the government, that's the approach I would have taken. Just like oh we're freaking out about it. No, let's hold their hands and treat them how they're let's hold their hands and give them the experience.
Right.
Let's bring them through it.
Oh my god.
But yeah, the other website, so yeah, Live It doesn't save the videos, but like yeah, you can play whatever music you want. I think the only other requirements, you can't show TV screens, other videos on it. So they actually have two full production multi-angle shows on there. And
Wow.
then yeah, and then they're both Taiwanese based, like variety shows, and those are like two. I think one was called like David's Angels, and I don't know what it's about. I can't speak Mandarin, so I just know there was like a lot of
it's
girls. He was in the water, and they were like tasting food, but
it's the Mandarin version of Charlie's Angels.
maybe with a lot of food tasting, because it kind of had like a QVC setup though. Like
Okay.
they're
Okay.
showing they're showing different items like no 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 no. Twit casting is the other website I've been kind of going all in on. Its name sounds similar to Twitch, but it's easy to do screen sharing on there, and
Okay.
it's easy to do so I could screen share like the convo we're having right now onto Twit
Yeah.
casting without having you could screen share there without going into OBS. You could
Oh, that's nice.
you could do radio only shows, audio only shows on there. It's based out of Japan, but it's easy to log into it, make an account there, and just like broadcast whatever you want, video or audio. So and then it's easy to do like have multiple people on there. You could either do screen share on here with Zoom, or you could do. I think they have like a collabo thing where it's up to 8 people.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so it's a pretty well. It has auto save and auto upload. I think the only downside of it, it's like you could only stream like 30 minutes at a time, unless
Okay.
somebody gives you like one of your viewers sends you like a coin or whatever.
Right, right. If you're getting the funding from your viewers, then you can keep
Yeah.
going. Like video is expensive on the internet.
hmm But the thing is, you could just restart it though if you stop. So after that 30 minutes, all you have to do is just press restart. And it's probably the easiest streaming site because the only thing you have to do is press start on it, and then you don't have to go into OBS and do all this other stuff
Right, right.
like
You're good to go.
entering the RTMB and all these codes. You just press start. I mean, like, how tough can it be?
Right,
I kind of
right.
wish more sites were like this, but that user friendly.
That
But
simplicity there, man. Like,
yeah,
although, that's why I have a job right now. My main job is actually making software tutorials.
I think I
it's
remember that.
it's explaining the software that people go, I wish this was simple. I'm like, here, let me show you how to use it.
Exactly. It's like, it's like they should have made the AK-47, but they made the M16 instead.
Right.
Just more parts to deal with. That could get dirty. Like over engineering, I think is what somebody called
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I think one dating website I didn't tell you about, since like I told you about when I first met you, the whole I think dating website, and I think two other reality shows. So dating website I didn't tell you about was it was an app called Taste Buds, and
Okay.
it's specifically, because music is like a religion to me, like how I seriously I take it. So it's matches based on musical interests. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, and I was and before I met my girlfriend that I'm with right now, I was kind of like, I was only on there for a month, but Facebook dating is so like on point. It
Huh.
already sent me like it got me like 2 dates within 4 weeks, or 3 weeks, and that's
That's really
how.
not bad.
And the second date's my current girlfriend. That's how.
I call that a success story.
Yeah, that's how much I've been kind of like gassed up on Facebook dating. But then again, like what one app works for somebody, it might not work for the other. So
Sure,
just
sure.
all the different places. So I mean, for those of you guys watching, if you're still in on the game, make a Taste Buds account if you wanna.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if like
It's
Bumble, you just make a profile and then you just wait for somebody to.
Bumble is very similar to Tinder, except for you can only reply
Yeah.
to the women.
Yeah.
Women have to reach out to you first. So you're still doing the same matching thing, but you can't send the first message as a man.
I'm wondering if okay, so I was wondering if like you don't even do the swiping and you just
No, there's still the swiping thing is still
yeah,
happening there.
there
Yeah.
you go. I mean, there's still the swiping thing in the Taste Buds also, but I mean, it actually it looks at your musical taste and only like matches you up based on that. And I'm pretty sure there's probably like a movie one and other similar ones coming in soon. So I'll get to these two reality shows that I don't know if I've told you about that, because I was talking about we were talking about like what was it the what was the body one that we were talking about earlier?
The body one. Oh, Naked Attraction?
Naked Attraction, jeez. And then
That is an awkward show.
and I was talking about Mr. Personality and Love Is Blind. See, so you're talking about awkward shows. So this show is called Real Love, and it's on Netflix. I even have like a surprise for you at the end of me explaining the show to you.
Okay,
To go
okay.
with this. So Real Love, the show, and this isn't the surprise either. So they get like a certain number of guys, certain number of girls. Everybody has a dark secret on that show. It's a Japanese reality dating show. Everybody on that show has a dark secret. And basically, the hosts of the show reveal it at random times. It's like shuffling a deck of cards. So, and it's usually right in the middle of a date. And, and it's for, and basically, like, if they already revealed your secret, you're already good.
So
So,
in the middle of a date, they'll say, "Hey, your date did such and such when he was in high school."
no, actually, you have to say it yourself.
Oh, okay. Say your secret now. Oh,
So you write down your secret on an envelope, and it's like a whole like maybe like a short essay about like what you are and what you went through. So I think I'll just give you an example of what was going on, the dark secrets on the show. So one of them, I mean, this is Japan. Let's keep that in mind because of the
yeah, yeah.
differences in culture. But I think the first one was the guy was a porn star,
Okay,
and
okay.
towards the beginning, he was just kind of moonlighting as a magician with 99-cent store magic tricks. So there was that. And
Oh
then
man.
another and he wasn't the only porn star. There was like and then like the second to the last one was a girl who was a porn star. And then I think two other people were like heavily in debt. Um I think another guy went to jail for ripping people off, and a while back, and then was it one guy did cross dresses on live stream. I mean, that's all right.
That
I
feels
mean,
pretty tame.
yeah, in Japan. But one of the
What?
ones that was actually the most tame, that like even the people on the show were like, this isn't a secret at all. One guy is like, he's just a heavy collector of anime and anime figurines and DVDs, and he's a good looking guy too, and even if he wasn't, it's still not a big deal.
He
Like,
just happens to collect a specific thing.
yeah, I mean, he's just into anime and all that, and that was his secret. And he was like a ballet dancer, and he had like a scarf. He looked real nice. So so one of the secrets. This is actually my surprise for you. One of the secrets was this guy. He had maybe like tens of thousands of dollars in plastic surgery. Like so much. He's an admitted plastic surgery addict, and he's also a host at a host club. My surprise for you is that I actually, after the show happened, I messaged him on Instagram, and now me and him like talk on a regular basis
Oh
about
my
like music
god,
and stuff. He's a
that's
pretty cool,
amazing.
he's a pretty cool guy. You should. This is like why I highly recommend the show. It's kind of a fun ride. It's not that many episodes. I think
Okay, okay.
only like 6 or 7 episodes.
Oh yeah, that's
Maybe like
totally doable.
yeah, like an hour each. My homeboy Eve, shout out to you. You know, man, my Japanese is blanking right now. I'm talking about you. Dashi wa tomodachi. I'm just saying like to you. But I guess he goes by Eve or Taka. But
Okay,
I forgot what name he was going by on that show. He's like the only guy with like all blonde hair. He's like Filipino, Spanish, and Japanese.
I'll keep an eye out for the all blonde guy.
Yeah, all blonde. He's got like a little bit of a tan going, and like as far as everybody on the show, he's like the nice guy, like probably the most laid back one, who just like didn't really care if he like came out with like a relationship from the show or not, because he's just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'm kind of worried about with my interactions with him is like if the Yakuza is gonna like like mess with me with him
Oh my god.
over communication with them. Yeah, the Yakuza is going to be kind of in on it. But, like, I think, okay, so 2 people on that show were porn stars. One of them became a porn star after the show. And then, I think my only disappointment was that wasn't, like, Yakuza and Yakuza people on that show. And there wasn't, like, anybody with, like, violent crimes. And there wasn't, yeah.
The secrets, the dark secrets were more like, oh, I'm kind of ashamed of this job that I had in the past, or
Yeah.
I'm currently collecting this thing that a lot of people don't like, but I like. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't bring the Japanese cannibal onto the show.
Yeah, they
Like,
didn't do that. I think like some of the other ones was like I had sex with 150 people was one guy, and then another one was I and then right after him there's a girl who's like I had sex with 300 people, and now you're just kind of like numbers, and it's just like
escalating.
yeah, now it's just like
It's
well then Gene Simmons might as well be on the show, is just like at least
it's
claiming
like
1,000 or
t-
something.
10 is an 10 is like 10 is a number and 1,000 is a statistic, like
Yeah.
something like that. Like
Like by Western standards, like some of the shows, like oh that's not a big deal, and then other things on the shows like you're slut shaming. A lot of that's kind of what the show came down to. But just the fact my homeboy was on it, the fact that me and him talk regularly, I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. Like after finishing the show, me and him are like because he just bought a new guitar, and me and him are talking about music, and I might meet up and jam with him if the Yakuza doesn't charge me money for it. So
Right. Fair enough.
for his time. So Taka, if you're watching, hopefully somebody translates this. If I've got the time, maybe, because I'm studying Japanese too, just to kind of like get down. I'm gonna cover my room in kanji, all 3,000.
Nice.
The longer we're in on this pandemic, the more kanji I can memorize. That's like how I'm looking at it. Because that's like 3 years. Oh, that's about the time it takes to,
To get it all down.
to get it all down. But yeah, I think the other group I think other than Yakuza was maybe Bosuzoku gangs. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
So in anime, you see like the motorcycle guys with like the Elvis hair and like they're
Yes.
carrying around pipes and long jackets.
Yes.
Those are the Bosuzoku gangs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
and they kind of died out in the mid 90s. There's still like some of them, but they're very
Holdouts.
like, yeah, holdouts.
It's kind of like, you get these niche groups that grow and shrink again. Like steampunk isn't as big as it was 10 years ago, but there's still groups of steampunkers out there.
And I'm not doxing anybody because this guy was pretty open about it. I think he was the owner of the anime jungle in Little Tokyo. He actually is a former Bosozoku gang member. And he has like a long, cool jacket with like the symbols on it. And not all of them were criminals. They just like to ride motorcycles.
Right. They like the style, right? Like
Yeah.
that's,
It's a little
fair
bit of a
enough.
thing. But I mean, those were like the Bloods and Crips of Japan, like back in the 90s. And like the mid 90s, it was like from the 70s up until like the mid 90s.
Right.
But those are like, if they do another season of the show, like I want them to get Bosozoku gang members on it. Like, because I didn't really like all the people that just like sex and ideas and that are in debt. I'm like,
Yeah, this feels like standard stuff, man. Like this is the kind of stuff where I go on a date, I learned about this from someone, and I go, okay, that doesn't really change anything.
exactly. But it like Bosozoku gang's like, bro, like I cut off some fingers.
You want to know how I got this finger removed?
That's pretty much like the first thing you see. Like they shake, like you shake their hand, and then you know right away.
You're like,
it's like,
huh,
there's a finger
that's
missing.
interesting.
And it's not from an accident. like, and they got their katana right there on their.
Right. Oh my
they got
God.
the katana and everything, but like Bosozoku gangs, like, and if you're thinking like some of them might be too old or whatever, they actually had a guy who was like, they have a guy on the show who was like 40 years old. So
Huh.
it was everybody from like 18 to 40 something, on the show. So it's like, it was a pretty interesting lineup. Yeah, it's called Real Love is the name of the show.
Love. Okay.
Yeah, that was a quick binge, and I think because I was looking for like different, like I think like what month did you start your dating website? Was it?
That was October, I think, is when I officially launched it.
Oh, so it was just this past October.
Yeah, it was very recent.
I was thinking, man, I had a feeling it was at the beginning of the pandemic.
No, beginning of the pandemic is when I started trying to date again in general, and when I
Just
started
through, like,
realizing
conventional warfare.
Right, exactly. And after several months of that, going, no, there's got to be something else.
We have to break the deadlock of trench warfare.
Right,
We have
right.
to develop new weapons. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like a hot air balloon, freaking zeppelins, except
Get out of here, man. Let's see this from a bird's eye view.
it's like a zeppelin, but except it's got Date Elliot on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've developed new styles of dating warfare in the thing happening. Well, so because I think I bring that up because like I guess at the same time I was looking at your website. I was also watching the show Terrace House, and like Terrace, like on the house.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
Terrace. So that's a really popular dating reality show over in Japan.
Okay.
And one of the things that makes that show different, it's a little bit more subtle, not like as crazy as Real Love, but it's like, say you take the Real World or Big Brother, and
Mhm.
then you kind of make it, just more like a little bit more more mundane and laid back, kind of. Like they show you more of like just everyday activities, kind of like having lunch and stuff like that. But like towards the last season, they were kind of pushing the conflict a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah. But like like most of the previous seasons were just more like laid back. It was kind of
Day-to-day activities.
Yeah,
We're
there's-
chatting while we're making breakfast.
exactly. It was all of those things, and they're showing the dates, and and the thing about the show is like there's nobody that gets eliminated. You're not. There's no such thing as elimination. People just
Huh.
people leave whenever they decide to leave. And the other cool thing I've noticed about the show is there's no ethnicity. There's like you don't have to be Japanese to be on it. You just have to speak Japanese.
Right. It's
So-
just it's the language base, not anything else.
Yeah, so anybody could be on the. You don't even have to live in Japan either to be on the show either.
Huh.
So it was a very interesting concept, and I fell in love with the idea of the show so much is that I actually want to buy the show. And I've been just like daydreaming, they talk about like if you think about the thought enough, you make it happen. The thought to the thing.
Okay. So sort of like the secret
Manifesting.
kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's like one of the things I've got in mind. It's like I want to buy this show, and produce my own season of it. Pretty much, that's how much I liked the concept. And then when I saw your website, I was imagining you on it. I was like, Elliot's man of culture. I wonder how quickly he could pick up Japanese. Like if he's still having trouble dating, I'd definitely put Elliot on my season of Terrace House.
Well,
Except,
you make a season of that. If I'm single, I'll be on it.
oh yeah, you'd be on there because I even have a list of people I want on there too. I've got a pretty crazy list of people listed on there. And actually, like it also brought me to this other subject. So the one of the people I want on that show is the former world heavyweight champion of Japanese pro wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling. His name's Tetsuya Naito. He's like a Mexiphile like Japanese wrestler. You know, he speaks Spanish at random times, and you know he says tranquilo, you know, whenever he wants. And I want him on that show so badly. He's like my dream pick if this was like NFL draft or whatever.
The dating draft.
Yeah, the dating draft, pretty much. And then one of my other picks, this kind of brings me on to my other subject. One of my other picks is this Japanese pop star, and you know, it was kind of a shame because we talk about, you know, like society and, you know, like different cultures kind of treating things differently with real love. So the one of the people I want to bring on the show is this girl. Her name is Leia Dizon. She was a J-pop star in, like, I guess around 2005 to 2008. And one of the things that kind of tanked her career was she got married and got pregnant. And because you're a pop idol, that's kind of like people just kind of lose interest with you. You know?
Right.
Yeah, you know
Right.
how that culture
Yeah. Yeah.
get too old.
The pop idol culture is
Yeah.
is honestly a little bit toxic.
Hmm. So she's American. So Leia Dizon's Filipino American. She's just like kind of like very Japanese, Chinese looking. And Leia, she was really well known in Southern California because like around, I think in like Asian American culture, like car culture is really big. Like the whole thing with like race cars and drift racing and, you know, Fast and the Furious. That was like the culture my older brother was part of. And Leia Dizon, there's like this whole slew of models. Like what's her name? The Tila Tequila was kind of part of that whole bunch.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Leia Dizon was also kind of part of that circle too. But she went off in her direction, and then some of them just like went on to just do like, you know, the mom thing and just like live regular lives. Leia Dizon is one of the only ones of them that just suddenly became a J-pop star out of nowhere, and she's from Las Vegas. Ever since that happened,
What a turn.
yeah, so ever since like she fell out like she became an idol, and then she fell out of being an idol and she moved back to Las Vegas, and then there was word that she got into musical theater. One of the things I want to do since she's fluent in Japanese is I want to get her on that show too. So she's on my all-star picks. So Leia, if you're watching this, you know,
Let's get this dating show together.
yeah, I want to bring you on here. You, Tetsuya Naito, Elliot, and you know, and I've got and the other one of the other interesting facets of Terrace House was they actually have a commentary team, rather than like there's no confessionals like you know in real world where people get in front of the camera. And say,
Right.
this is what I always thought of John. He was always a blah 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 blah
Right.
blah,
Right.
but I always found myself blah 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 blah. Like
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
instead there's a team of 8 people, and there's like a comedian, there's an actress, there's a singer, there's a rock star, there's a young guy, a young girl, an older guy, an older woman, you know, and that's the commentary team. So like
That's very typical of like Japanese TV, right?
oh
Like
yeah,
it's okay, we're all going to watch as a team, as a group, we're all going to
gonna
watch
react.
this thing happen and we're going to react to it.
It's
Yeah.
a react video, and then so the reactions both at the beginning of the show, the middle, and they always end with the reaction. So it's like after they're all wearing headphones, like wow, I can't believe Tatsuro would do that with Mikomi. Like you know, like they're all doing stuff like that. So I had my own picks for that team. So man of culture, not quizzing you in any way. I'm just wondering if you know about it. Do you know what manzai comedy duos are?
Mm, no, maybe I don't. I don't recognize the term.
It is so like in comedy, you know about straight man and kind of like a goofball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they are. I forgot
So
the
Laurel and Hardy,
yep.
or yeah,
It
okay,
actually
yeah.
comes from the
Abbott and
American
Costello.
Abbott and Costello. It comes from the well, Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson.
Right.
It comes directly from the American tradition, but they took it to a point over in Japan with manzai that they're kind of like they're even doing street performances. Like there's even like kind of like how if you go to Santa Monica Beach, there's just like somebody doing stand up, and instead
Yeah.
it's always two guys. Sometimes they're doing, and they're not always just telling jokes. They're doing like a skit, and they got makeup, they got outfits, they got props. So
That is fascinating.
that's a big regular thing too. So that's and there's always a lot of like manzai is like a huge thing. So I think some of the panelists are and a lot of their MCs for their music shows and stuff like that are manzai comedians. You know, even on the Real Love, one of the most famous people coming from that show was a guy who was a manzai comedian.
Huh.
He had a dark secret, and he used a different name like later on. I think that show is actually what catapulted him to fame.
Huh.
It's like this is me telling you about reality shows. I even have like one that'll like probably blow your mind the most. And I think after I don't know how much free time you have, but I think after we're done with this call,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you about I might even show you some of the show if you got the time.
I might. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what's
Yeah.
going on. I yeah.
So this show is called Documental. So
Okay.
Documental, they take 10 manzai comedians. It's not the whole duos though. Sometimes they take either the straight man from the duo or the goofball from the duo or just whoever. And
Yeah.
but most of them are manzai comedians. Some of them are actors, some of them are comedians. The main object of the show is you cannot laugh or smile for 5 hours. And if you do it 3 times, you are eliminated. And the object of the show is the last comedian not laughing, or the comedian who laughs the least, the last one not eliminated, gets $100,000.
Oh, interesting. That that's something that what was that team called? Gaki no Tsukai, right?
Wait, you
That's
do
something
know about it?
is that the group?
It actually is the same host.
It's the same host. Okay, yeah.
It's Matsumoto.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No. Yep. I know very much. Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite series that they've done is the 24-hour tag.
Holy crap!
Oh yeah.
Once again, Gemini and Aquarius knocking it out of the park. No, I mean the other thing is my drummer Steven, he watches Gaki no Tsukai too.
Okay.
So he's really deep into that show also.
Man, it's been forever since I thought about that show too. That's so funny.
Yeah, he watches it regularly. Well, this is actually on Amazon Prime, the first 3 seasons.
Really?
And they're subtitled.
Oh, that is excellent. I'm going to remember that.
And the only rule is you cannot smile, and you cannot laugh, and you can't smile and you can't laugh. And when I say that's the only rule, I really mean I mean that in
everything else is in bounds.
Yeah. I think the only thing that kind of like irritates me is if somebody like only once I've seen somebody kind of tickle. Like one guy put his foot in his mouth, and I guess that kind of counts as tickling to an extent. Because if you allow tickling, it just turns into MMA.
Right. Or something much darker. I don't know if you've seen that tickle fighting documentary.
It's like the craziest thing that I saw on there. The funny thing is like this guy just takes a piss, just straight up. He takes a piss, and the one who gets eliminated is the one who laughs at it. Like he doesn't even get in trouble for taking a piss. I was like, wow.
The guy who got in trouble was the guy who laughed at the piss.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that's why the whole idea is.
Oh my God.
I can't believe it, and like people are getting naked at like random times. One guy just put his nuts on the table and just eliminated a dude just like that. That's all he had to do. He just like
that's such a power move.
Yeah, that's it. That's all he even like jumped up and did it too. Like
oh my God.
Like that. He didn't have Documental, and it's Hitoshi Matsumoto is the host, the exact same host, Hitoshi Matsumoto, and I think you remember Jimmy from Gaki no Tsukai.
Probably.
Yeah, Jimmy
Yeah.
Jimmy's on there every season. Oh my God, I don't know why they keep bringing him back. Jimmy Jimmy's pretty insane. He reminds me. He looks like
Man.
one of my uncles. So
This year I haven't been doing as much of the Japanese TV as I've been addicted to the British game shows
oh, there you
this
go.
year.
Those are pretty
Um,
hardcore.
so like Taskmaster has been a big one for me this year.
Was that the really hard one where you don't eat like? Is that the really 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 hard show?
Taskmaster is set of comedians just like any other game show on in British TV, right?
Uh
Set of comedians, and they're given a card with a task on it, and it's like the lawyer's dream game, right? Because you look at the rules and you go, this is the only instructions I have. I have to do the best job I can to follow the task on the card. And so the card might say something like, make the biggest snowman, but it's like the middle of summer.
yeah. So
And
it doesn't
you have
have
to
to be
start
snow.
you have to
It
think
doesn't have to be
creatively,
white.
right? Like I have to depict a snowman. I have to make the depiction
Yeah,
large.
you could draw
Or
it.
I have to make it look large. So maybe I'll draw a picture of a snowman, cut it out, and then put it in front of a camera and then show it next to a building. Oh, it's the size of a 60-story building.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What's that cherry picker thingy? That one vehicle, the cherry picker.
The cherry pickers that
Yeah.
like go upward and
Yeah, you got to find like a spray paint wall downtown. And then,
right,
you know,
right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like whatever you want to do. You know.
So I've this year I've started this last year. So like in and out of like pandemic like
yeah,
peaks
for
and
those
things,
watching
right?
this,
like
this is the very beginning of 2021. We're
right. So I've been, getting tested and meeting with friends to make my own version of the Taskmaster show.
Holy.
And it's been a lot of fun. I think the people who are watching, who are doing that, won't necessarily be watching this video. I don't know, but some of the tasks have been a lot of fun. I've been trying to toss some like curveballs their way, right? Like tasks that are vaguely written enough that some people will do really well and other people will do really poorly. And when they watch the footage, they'll go, wait, I could have done that? Are you kidding me? Things of like, oh, do this the furthest and widest. And then they do that thing in the location they're at instead of hopping in the car and driving away.
I'm thinking about the biggest snowman because I always think about that whole thing with like Bobby's World where it's like count backwards. So he turns around and goes 1, 2, 3, like stuff like that. Because like
right
with lawyers, biggest snowman, like somebody would actually go and get the ice.
Right. Someone's like, okay, well, I need to make snow first, so let me go to the store and buy some bags of ice.
Yeah,
like
they're actually going through the things, but other people's like, no, you got the, and it's like, was it up to the judges to determine if they accomplished it?
It's as the taskmaster, I would get to decide all of the points, and with zero discussion on their end. Like feel free to make an argument, but in the end, it's up to me.
It's just like yes or no.
Yes or no. Exactly. You did good. Nah, you didn't do so great.
I remember this really insane show. There was a really insane game show that was just so hard. I don't think it was like you don't even know the questions, but I think you had to memorize something before you even like get to some of them just get way too intense. It's like for a really like competitive I forgot. It was like about something about like really competitive, mathematicians and people like that. It was
like Countdown?
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
Countdown is one where they're like, okay, here's 5 numbers, and you have to use those 5 numbers to create this other number.
I think that's what it was.
So they'll give you like the number 57, and then you go, okay, and you have to use the numbers 2, 73, 57, and 42, and you have to somehow add all of that up, divide, subtract, whatever. You have to create a formula that makes the number we gave you. First one to do it wins.
I think I know how to segue into this like last subject I listed because it's somewhat related because we're talking about games, game shows, activities, sports. I think one thing, like, I had this plan like 3 years ago because, I mean, one of the things the pandemic canceled was the Olympics.
Right.
And one of the things I was thinking of doing, it's such a, all due respect to the championship billiards and pool players out there, but I was thinking of becoming just out of nowhere a pro billiard player, just like on a whim.
Just
Just 'cause-
going for it.
yeah, just going for it. One of the main reasons why is that there's no because this is also related to body like conditioning and body image and body
Yeah.
positivity. You don't have to be in shape to be a pro billiards player.
You just got to have the angle right.
Oh yeah. You don't have to work out. I don't have to eat eggs early in the morning. I don't have to see a conditioning coach, do cardio, blah, 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 go to the gym, In fact, like, I think one of, as a Filipino, one of the second or first best champions of the world, I don't remember his name, but it's a chubby Filipino guy, I'm saying this as a cousin to you. If you want to get me for body shaming, come on, uncle. Me. I'll see you at the family party. I'm eating with you, but
Right.
I'm going to be the one eating with you, buddy. But anyhow, like he's pretty chubs, he's a heavy set guy, and he's one of the championship pool players. And that was like one of my game plans for pool, and also like related on dating. We're talking about, because I was talking about like how great your body is, you got it going on. People are getting like the COVID-19 and stuff like this, and 19 pounds, and we think about like fat people, skinny people, what's good and what's bad. I think and we're talking a lot about Japan sumo wrestlers, bro, and this is gonna lead to one of my other great joys, chanko nabe. You could eat, like, sumo wrestlers are super healthy,
Yeah.
like big, fat, and they're still super healthy. The food they eat is pretty clean, and you could actually eat as much of it as you want, because it's like it's a pretty natural like meat stew.
The key though is that whole like the workouts and the thing and the training they're doing in conjunction with what they're eating, right?
Mhm,
Like
both of those
I
things
could
together.
literally have the cleanest vegan diet of my life, and if I'm eating, 7,000-8,000 calories a day and just sitting on the couch, that's not going to be great. Like it's not going to end up
Exactly.
well. But these
Exactly.
guys are doing such huge amounts of training, like it makes sense.
And the chanko nabe, I gotta say, it's very, that chanko nabe, it's like one of my, like, when I think of hot pot, that's probably like, there's so many different variations of it. You could kind of like, I think one person just used chicken bouillon, because I was remembering this brings me back to that cooking show a cooking show you used to have on YouTube.
Yeah, the Fantastic Feasts.
Yeah, where to find them. So it brings me back to chanko nabe. I think you and me haven't talked about like exotic foods enough, and that's something I always wanted to talk to you. There's so many things I want to talk to you about, but, like, endless list. But like chanko nabe, there's one of the sumo wrestlers said he never gets sick of it because there's so many different kinds of broth and so many different variations. Yeah.
It's like saying you're sick of soup. It's like saying you're sick of burritos. You go, okay, but what kind of burritos are you eating? Because it's literally just like a burrito is a tortilla wrapped around fillings. Like
whatever you want it to be.
Whatever you want in the middle, that's your burrito. Like you're sick of burritos. Does that mean you're just sick of handheld foods? Like
so what was it, like they talk about like there's the whole sandwich argument and everything like that.
Right. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah. I mean, as somebody who's made sandwiches, I think I came over to your house once and I made a couple of hamburgers. I made one with pita bread and then I made a more conventional one too. I was trying to make a ramen burger. I was like I thought it was a competition. Like I was showing off.
Gonna do this, man. Do this in a creative way.
I was showing off a little bit. I'm like, all right, now is my time to work my magic. Like if you see my post, cooking's kind of like a big part of like this pandemic now. Like before the pandemic, I was like the Pink Floyd of cooking. After it, I think I'm kind of like the Dream Theater. Like I'm tooting my own horn like crazy, but I'm like the Dillinger Escape Plan theater of cooking at this point.
You got the sous vide over on that end, the air fryer on this end, and then you're using some sort of like, you're heating things up with a propane blowtorch in the middle.
And Elliot, I'll be 100% honest with you. What kind of made me late for this, late and forget a little bit about this interview today. What I was doing outside is I bought a tomahawk just for breaking small logs into wood chips for my barbecue. So for smoking meat.
Nice.
So that's like
Nice.
so it's a little bit in our spirit because you're an outdoors guy.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how deep you're in with barbecuing or smoking. If you
For
ever
me, barbecuing, it's usually comes down to the camping and barbecuing.
there you go.
I don't have much space at my apartment for
Well, of
barbecuing.
course.
Like it's a tiny little place, and there's a tiny little porch.
Yeah, you got to find
Um,
a park or something like that.
right, exactly. So for me, if I'm doing the barbecuing, it's at someone else's place, um, or something where I'm like, I have to try this, so I need to cook it. Like that time, one of the Fantastic Feast videos was, beaver tail, beaver flapper, and cooking that over open flame.
Did you guys? What kind of net did you use? Did you use a did you use a basket for the meat, or did you use a?
Oh no, it was a beaver flapper, a beaver tail, beaver flapper with the
Uh,
skin on. So we
mm,
were able to just toss that on top of a grate, on top of like a grill, and flip it over when it was starting to blister up.
I'm thinking because there's like a certain amount of fat in there. Like you
Oh,
didn't.
the beaver flapper is all fat.
Okay, so you don't have to. Of course, you don't have to rub it in olive oil to prevent it from drying out.
No, yeah, it is good to go. It's like it tastes like freshwater fish with just it's fat with the taste of freshwater fish.
Did you season it?
No, just straight up, just taking slices and eating it.
And no salt or pepper.
But it didn't really need it. I mean, it's just like
Really? It's
it's
kind of
just
like shrimp or it's like shrimp or certain kinds of fish.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. You can just jump in as it is.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I've made without seasoning, but I'm such a psychopath when it comes to seasoning. Because like
Well,
whenever
I
I'm
mean,
grilling, yeah,
seasoning can fix a lot of
oh
things, right?
yeah,
And one of my favorite things that is very Western culture averse. Like people in the West don't like this,
mm,
but it's one of my favorite things.
I'm
Is
ready.
just I've got the salt, I've got the pepper, and then I've got the MSG shaker,
Oh yeah, you know about it.
right?
Yeah, I have that. The white pepper salt is the secret ingredient to do you know what jipai is?
That sounds familiar.
That's the Taiwanese fried chicken fillet.
Okay, okay, okay.
So I actually did I did my own top 10 fried chicken in the world, in the planet Earth altogether. My number one is because I'm an egomaniac. I'm a evil diabolical villain because number one is my own fried chicken recipe because you know me.
Fair enough.
Well, because but it has something in common with my other number one, that isn't mine, which is the Taiwanese jipai. That I rated that as number one.
Okay.
It's the potato starch that actually gives it.
Mm.
It's not flour, it's not rice flour. It's just straight potato starch in the meat. So, and that's double fried, which is 7 minutes and 7 minutes. And but I stole another idea from the Japanese fried chicken, the tebasaki, is if you're cooking chicken wings, you make incisions into it so it cooks all the way down into the bone and the
Huh.
seasoning gets into the very
Into the
center of the
meat.
meat. Yeah.
I know that Disneyland does something similar with their turkey legs,
Hmm.
in that they'll basically inject the turkey legs with the drippings that are coming off as it's cooking.
Yeah, because they'll dry out otherwise. I
Right,
mean,
right.
I would have done that with the turkey breast too. I was even planning on like every year is like if I can only want to do two things on Thanksgiving, either have baby pig or completely chop up the turkey and turn the breast into katsu.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Yeah,
My family was years ago. This was like I was probably in junior high. My extended family on my dad's side got a whole pig, and we did the whole like bury it in the backyard to cook it thing.
the Hawaiian style.
Yeah, yeah, and that was a lot of fun.
Was it tough controlling the temperature? I'm
No,
guessing.
no, it was just you heat some coals, you bury the thing in banana leaves, and you come back to it like 8 hours later.
Okay, okay. I'm
Yeah.
always worried. I'm always. That's the one thing I'm always with the beaver tail thing. Like regular everyday people would just react like, "Ugh, beaver tail. That's weird. That's so different." Me, I'm like, "Did you make incisions? Rub it in olive oil and season it?" You know,
How did you go about it? Tell me the process.
yeah. I'm just going into because I think about whenever I barbecue that like if I need to do those things. If I'm dealing with tri-tip, I
Well,
gotta
and
rub
that's
it
the
with
thing,
olive
right? Like,
oil.
is the right process for the right ingredient for the right process for the right ingredient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to follow because one of the things that bugs me to no end with like food reaction videos on YouTube is almost all of the time the people in the video are trying an ingredient to a meal and they're not trying it in the meal. They're just
Yeah,
going like, okay, I'm going to eat a century egg now.
yeah. The video you guys
You're just
showed.
going to eat a whole century egg. You're not going to like chop it up and add it to a salad. Like that's it's like eating a block of blue cheese when you've never had blue cheese before. Like you're of course you're not going to like it, you know? Like
that
that's
that rice congee that you guys had with it, and the us Filipinos we have arroscaldo, which is very similar. And our arroscaldo, it's usually we have spam, we got eggs, we got
yeah,
bacon, we got longaniza. It's in combination with other things.
right.
It's a whole combo. I mean, what you're talking about with that one ingredient thing, one of the things that my number 3 on my fried chicken list is this Korean fried chicken chain called Barbecue Chicken. And what they do with their chicken is they make incisions into it, but those incisions are for your spoon, so you don't have to actually pick up the chicken at all. Yes, and
Oh my
they're
god.
cut perfectly to fit your spoon to go
Oh
into the
my god.
chicken,
And
break
lift
it,
it up.
no, cut the meat with your spoon, break that piece of meat off of the fried chicken, and then put some rice on your spoon with your fork so you don't have to pick anything up in the whole process. That's the whole
Wow. Ingenuity, man.
I mean, you could like most of the time people just pick it up and bite it. I
but
mean,
but still it's like the ingenuity there of like the creative cooking, like awesome. I love that. I love that.
yes. And that's why I rate that as number 3 on my list. Their chicken's deep fried in olive oil. They use I'm pretty sure it's like a flour. It's just a regular flour, somewhat quasi buttermilk mix. I don't know,
Okay.
but I'm guessing it's mostly just regular flour. It's just how they fry it. And then their other one is like their garlic and teriyaki one, which is like they're kind of their flagship. And then they've got like the plain one. So, but for when it comes to little backstory about myself. Well, my family in particular. My dad, when he first came to the United States and from the Philippines, he's eating at a cafeteria with his coworker. They're eating fried chicken together with a Korean coworker, and he noticed that my dad was eating the fried chicken with a fork and a knife and a spoon. And his Korean coworker was like, "Hey, man, you gotta hold your chicken here.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong." And this is before that barbecue chicken came along, before those incisions were made
Right.
into it. I even showed my dad it, and was like, "Whoa, the incisions."
You know,
So
the emergence of cheap lab grown meat that's coming in real rapidly right now, because I think the first legal chicken, lab grown chicken, is Singapore. I think is the first country to legalize it as for sale. So there's a restaurant in Singapore that's selling basically chicken nuggets that were grown in a lab. You know, thinking about that, like you could grow chicken in the shape for the spoon to pick it up. Like
that would
you
be
could grow
perfect.
chicken in that right shape.
That would actually be very genius, and I'd be all aboard that. And
I'm looking forward to the future of lab grown meats, man.
the Beyond sausage, it has kind of like a Thai, like the Thai skewers.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it tasted like when I had it. It's a very, it fits perfectly with rice, in there. And once again, like if you're growing it in the shape, then again, like that, like before people have objections to the chicken grown in the shape for your spoon, you have to keep in mind what happened with the banana. The banana
Oh,
has,
right. Which started as basically just seeds with a little bit of slime around it.
yeah, that was domesticated by mankind over centuries
Yeah.
to be in that shape
Well,
that,
and and it's kind of that element of what's safe, what's not. Lab grown, you have control over basically every aspect of that food product, right? Whereas something like, you know, cross pollination, trying to create a new plant, there was a potato that they were trying to make more hardy, and they actually got it out into production and then found out that some of the potatoes are lethally toxic only after they started produce, and those were traditionally made using, like, okay, we're going to touch these two flowers together, okay, we're making a new potato. Like, that wasn't GMOs, that was like classic cultivation, and it was killing people.
How lethally toxic? Is it like toxic by being near it, or is like you have to
No, like
ingest it?
eating the potatoes.
And how quickly?
Because it's potatoes, tomatoes, they're both in the nightshade family,
Mhm.
right? And so by combining the right potatoes together, they accidentally turned on the genetics for that toxin
That's amazing. No,
and
I was
had no idea.
no, I'm pretty sure some of those like deadly potatoes like disappeared in like CIA Black Ops. It's like,
You know, it's funny because like they keep trying to combine potatoes and tomatoes together, but they
mhm.
have yet to successfully do it. Because like it's the ultimate crop, right? Like, okay, you're growing tomatoes. Okay, tomato season's over. Let's pluck up the whole plant, and we've got a whole bunch of potatoes underground. But has yet to be anyone who has figured out how to do that without making the whole plant toxic.
Well, I'm thinking because of like assassination and covert black
Right.
ops. It's like
Oh.
it's like assassination fries is like the ultimate like
Right. Right.
it's like Bin Laden, like SEAL Team 6 is like going after Bin Laden. Like, sorry, Bin Laden, this a peace offering. Maybe we could
That's
tell us about these guys. And then I'm like,
you
wow, these
you
French
should
fries
look
are really
up
crunchy.
the list of ways that the CIA tried to kill Fidel Castro, because it's all madcap loony adventures that you would expect, like exploding cigars and, you know, poisoned cakes sent to him as a gift, and
That's very
none of them
Rasputin.
worked.
Very.
They were all ridiculous, like really comically ridiculous
It's
ideas.
it's like Rasputin, but like pulled out over the course of like
Right,
a long
right.
period of time.
And you look at it and go, dude, like, try something that's not insane.
It's like those toxic tomatoes and potatoes, though. It's like French fries. Like, hey, Fidel, I got some spaghetti for you. It was like, oh no, not this
No,
time.
no, not happening.
You're not getting me with that pizza, buddy. You're
Oh
not
my
getting.
god.
You're not getting me with those curly fries.
Incredible.
Yeah. I think I'll leave you viewers with this one because I want to leave you guys with some curly fries in your mind, just to watch out for that. Me and Elliot are going to continue this later on, but thank you guys for tuning in. You know, if and letting you know, Elliot, one of the things I was letting you know is that my research on the other websites means Aizigua is the YouTube of China, and you could anybody could actually upload videos to there. I
Huh.
think one of my videos got like 100 views in like a day on there, like more than 100, like more than I would get on YouTube. So on Aizigua, it's IXIGUA, and then another website is Japan is Nico Video. Nico Video is pretty cool too, and then anybody could upload videos there. So those are kind of like
Okay.
those are kind of like my trump cards in the deck. My
That's your emerging market.
yeah, and then my other ones, and then Vimeo. Vimeo isn't like paid anymore. Now you could actually you're
Well, there's a
allowed.
free version and a paid version, depending on
Yeah.
like how much traffic you're getting, how much content you're putting up,
Mhm.
what features you're trying to access.
Exactly. Like it's like if you're doing like one video a week, you're pretty much in the clear
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Vimeo. So that's just like a backup, you know. And then you also got Daily Motion, you got Metacafe and VO. I actually like those were that was like my way around because I had a lot of I was doing reaction videos for a minute and I was getting a lot of copyright claim. So I was like
Yeah.
I got my way around it. I'm pulling my
I got other sites.
all right. Thank you guys for tuning in. And Elliot,
Hey, thank you
tell us
for
where we could find your stuff and stuff.
yeah, so my big thing right now is dateelliot.com. That's Elliot with two L's and one T. But you can visit my other projects at professorelliot.com. That's my main site, and I've got updates coming up this year for some big multi-week adventures, and I'm very excited about that.
I gotta say, if for those of you who are interested in dating Elliot, this is basically kind of what that's gonna be like. You know, talking with them. You know, it's always a joy to talk to. But except the only difference is there's gonna be a little bit more compliments being thrown around. It's like, ooh, your eyes, your body, blah blah blah. You know, like I think that's like I don't know if it other people think this is like, you know, the best way to go about it, but I'd say like the second date is usually when I start shooting a little bit of the compliments in, you
Okay.
know.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like I guess the second date with Elliot, it's gonna be just like this, but there's gonna be more like, you know,
More of the
wow,
flirtatiousness.
yeah. There's gonna be a little bit more of that flirtatiousness going into it, and a little bit more teasing. It's gonna be this is basically there's gonna be a little bit of that. It's hard to like physically tease when there's, you know, when you can't touch. That's kind of
The thing I've been doing with my dating is Zoom date, distance walk in the park, and then in person date. Like
yeah,
that's the escalation, right?
yeah.
Like
There you go.
if you're doing a socially distanced walk, then oh man, it's getting serious.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, big time. All right, thank you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to donate to coffee.com/MGC Music if you want to see more content like this, and find me on all the multiple platforms I just mentioned earlier. Most of you are probably going to see this on Instagram, so hello Asian Hustle Network. So take care, you guys.